Welcome to Inspire Saratoga, a show that highlights the people and stories that make our home a place of strength, inspiration, and success. I'm Michael Kurkowski, physical and mental performance coach and resident of Saratoga Springs. And in this show, my mission is to connect with the great people who also call this place home, hear about their work and what they do for this town, and share their insights and experiences in health, wealth, and happiness for you, my neighbors. Thank you for joining me wherever you are in town. Let's dive in. All right, and we are live again. Welcome, everybody. Erin Sikopoulos. Did I get that right?
Sikopoulos.
Sikopoulos. Oh my God, I thought I had that down. So, Erin Sikopoulos,
It's
welcome.
okay.
Welcome to Inspire Saratoga.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It was fun. I got a chance to take a look at your space a couple weeks ago at your open house. Congratulations on that. And
Yes.
yeah, I'm really interested in the work that you do. I think a lot of people know massage therapy and body work. The energy work and sound healing, like these are things that are maybe on kind of the fringe of some things that some people understand. I've had some interesting experiences personally myself, so to hear your experiences and how you've brought it into your practice and the benefits that you've seen from it, I've been really pumped. So to kick this off, how did your time in Saratoga come about? Are you from this area? Like, did you move here? How did you come to Saratoga Springs?
Yeah, not exactly. I grew up in the Catskills, and my parents back in 1993 decided that they wanted to have a second home up here. And so they bought a second home on Union Ave where the racetrack is. And we spent a lot of our weekends and a lot of our summer up here in Saratoga as a kid. So that was like from 93 to the early 2000s until I went away to college. And I always really, really loved Saratoga. I love the history. I love the architecture. My parents, when they bought the house up here, it was an old Victorian. It was built in 1890. And I love that. And this was very different. Saratoga was very different from where I grew up in the middle of nowhere on top of
Hmm.
a hill in the Catskills. So it was our opportunity to, see some people, get some culture, have some fun things to do. And,
So this
you
was like
know,
the big city for you coming to Saratoga.
it was actually, yeah, it was.
Nice. Okay. So from the Catskill, so and you had a really good experience early on. What was it about Saratoga that kind of really spoke to you? Was it the people, the energy? Was it something else that was kind of unique that you saw?
I think for me as a kid, it was the energy. And, we would come up here throughout the year. It wasn't just in the summer, but I did love the summer and I did love the energy of this place being alive. I think, it's kind of funny now that I've lived here. I've lived up here since late 2009 is when we moved up here. And so, like a lot of locals, and it's understandable, like we can get grumpy when things change and things get a little clogged with traffic, right? And tourists and all that. But, just from my perspective, growing up in the Catskills, so I grew up where the Catskills were so popular through the 50s, 60s. It was like the place to be. And then it dropped off. Everybody stopped coming. And when everybody stops coming, a place becomes very dead. And, that energy, that bustling energy, that creativity, small businesses, like it all goes away. So I've always loved Saratoga for that. I feel like you can really feel the heartbeat of people within this little city, and you can feel the art and everyone really putting out what they do best here. And I kind of love that.
Was there a reason that it fell off in the Catskills? I wasn't aware that it was such a like it was more, populated and popular early on. Was there a reason why it shifted?
I think I'm not a big history buff, but from what I remember is that there were like the original families that started all these resorts, and then kind of the children started taking over, and they all started trying to outdo each other, and they started making bigger and bigger resorts, putting in more and more money. And at the same time, I heard it was in the 70s that airfare started to go down. So people wanting to get out of the city, all of a sudden taking a flight became possible, more accessible. And air conditioning. I also heard air conditioning was the thing. So in the city back then, like air conditioning wasn't as much of a thing. So people were trying to get out, and that's one of the reasons why the Catskills became very popular. But then buildings started to become air conditioning. People didn't feel as much need to leave the city or escape the city during the hot summer months.
Yeah.
And so it's like a combination of things.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I could see with the airfare and all of a sudden, going to new different destinations. Oh, that's interesting. Growing up kind of more like it was more of like a natural world then, like a lot of open space and nature and stuff. Was that kind of a big part of your upbringing, like being outside, like enjoying kind of because the work that you do now, I'm assuming like with energy and with kind of like a holistic feel, it feels like there's some synergy with kind of the natural world in that. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, yeah, my parents would laugh if they listened to this interview because they would say I am not an outdoor girl. I though I did love where we lived. So we lived or I grew up on top of a hill, many acres of lands and woods and ponds and all that kind of stuff. So it was really fun younger, and then as I got older, you kind of get jaded, and you're like, I don't want to be around people, and I thought I would
Always.
go live in the city, right? And so, yeah, that didn't really pan out. That's why I wanted to leave. We lived in Long Island for a while, and I was like, no, maybe people aren't my thing. So that's why Saratoga was kind of that happy medium, I think. I think that is one of the beautiful things about Saratoga for me is that you're not too far from nature, which I did love that part growing up. But then there's also this little city, and it's a little bustling city that's really alive, and it's really fun, and it's great, and there's lots of things to do.
Yeah, it's been a common connection with a lot of people that have come on the podcast about Saratoga is it's that little bit of mix of everything. You have a little city vibe feel to it, but it's also so close to if you like more of like the natural world and open space, but it's also you can get a little bit of that city vibe. I totally get that. So in 2009, that's when you came and then you moved here. You've been here. That what made that move? You said you were in Long Island. Was it Long Island to Saratoga, or was there stops in the middle?
Yep. So we lived in Long Island and I worked in Manhattan. I worked for a national broadcast cable company. And I decided like I wanted to do something that helped people. I remember going to work every single day with like a pit in my stomach. And I remember that's when heart palpitations and stuff started for me. And I also always wanted to own my own business. I feel like I come from a line of entrepreneurs and I knew there was no top to getting like to the top of a broadcast cable network. That's just, I mean, I wasn't going to sit on the board one day. That wasn't going to happen.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
What was your job
uh,
in broadcasting? What did you do there?
so I was an assistant to the VP of programming. So they were someone who would be buying our shows and movies and making contracts for those shows and movies for the network.
Okay. So when did it start transitioning into the work that you do now? Was that the next step afterwards? Was there other vocations and stuff that you were exploring? How was that transition into going into the LMT work and the energy work?
It was quick. Thank goodness. God bless my husband because he really followed along with me. It was just like one day I was like, I can't do this anymore. This is not what I'm supposed to do with the rest of my life. And it was an intuitive thing. I really do think it was an intuitive kind of like divine knowing that one day I was like, I want to help people. And it was like massage school got in my head. And I looked up massage school and I found the Center for Natural Wellness, which is in Colony here. And it felt right. I was like, that's it. That's what I'm doing.
Okay.
And thank goodness my husband went along with me on it.
Yeah.
And it all worked out.
Yeah. What was that conversation like? Was it like a pretty easy thing between you and your husband in there? Like, I think I need to do something else, or what was that time? Because it's never easy to when you have something that has some stability in there, and now you're going into entrepreneurship or service work is very challenging to build from the ground up in there. How was that time like for you, both with your husband, but also kind of mentally in your own mind? I'm sure that could also be a really challenging thing.
Yeah, from what I can recall, I think it went pretty smoothly. I think he was a little shocked when I said that. He's like, "You really sure?" But he knows that, I'm not the kind of person to waver back and forth on something. If I say I want to do something, like he trusts that I'm going to take it and do it all the way because that's just who I am. I make a decision and I go for it.
Hmm. Okay. So what were the early days of massage therapy like for you? You went to school. Did you go into your own business afterwards? Did you work under some other people for a bit? What were the early days like for you?
Right after I got out of massage school, I worked in a spa for a little bit. I did not like that. That was hard for me. Again, someone who has a very entrepreneurial spirit and just kind of really knew what kind of work I wanted to do, even though I hadn't fleshed out everything about my practice, I knew that the gemstone energy work that I do was going to be a big factor in my body work. And even though I was working on like how to really mingle that together and weave it together, like it's not something that I could do at the spa that I was working at. That's doing work that works for the spa. And I totally appreciated that and abided by that, but I knew that it wasn't for me ultimately. And then I left there after I got pregnant with my first son. And then there were a couple years where I was having babies. I had two kids. I worked out of my home until 2014 when I was pregnant with my daughter, so my second child, and we needed that bedroom. So that was officially my boot out of having my office at home, and I got my first office. And I stayed in that office, well, I stayed in that building where I had my first office from 2014 up until spring of 2024. And then I moved into where I am now on Maple Ave in Saratoga, which is renting a whole building that I sublease out to other wellness practitioners.
I love it. It's a beautiful spot. We're going to dive into it in a minute. When you were the early days, you said it was not for you. Was it a combination of one, is it challenging to work for other people? I can totally understand if that's the answer with it. I'm kind of the same thing. But was it also, you mentioned the gemstone therapy, which you do now. Was that kind of like, poo-pooed by like the people like at the top or like didn't understand it? Like what was that kind of time like?
When I went into that spa-like environment, I had like mentioned it to them. They did offer, I believe, Reiki at the time at the spa. So it wasn't that they weren't into energy work, but at that place at that time, it wasn't really management that had their full heart into this kind of work. They're managing a business, you know what I mean? So it was kind of like if people want it, right? If it's something that you can sell, then they're into it, right? And my work was just like a little bit different, and I wasn't trained in Reiki at that point to offer it. So I just had to stick with, what their services were and, kind of stick with their brand of bodywork and massage, which I completely respected. It was just hard for me. And it was also hard being out of school and working up the confidence to work on people. It's a tough thing to get in a room alone with somebody and be wondering like, do they like this? Like, do they hate this? Do they want to get off the table? So it also takes a while to build up your confidence of like, I am doing actually well at this. Like, people do like it.
I'm always curious about that with anybody in massage therapy because like it's the most intimate service that you're giving. Like you're in a closed door with a lot of people, a lot are in different varies of clothing in there. It's like there has to be a feeling of a learning curve of comfortability that comes with starting that business.
Yeah. Yeah, and absolutely. And it's, being able to kind of read and tell people on the table. I mean, like you could definitely tell things if someone's not enjoying, if they're like, jerking their body all around, it's like, well, maybe I'm going a little bit too hard. And it's I love massage, but it is complex in the way that it's so incredibly subjective. Um, so many people have so many different preferences when it comes to touch and what touch is good and therapeutic and safe for them. And, the public can be hard sometimes, I think, because they can think, oh, a good massage has to hurt, you know,
Yes.
which for me personally, I'm not one of those therapists. I'm kind of like if you're digging into people and stimulating their nervous system and their fight or flight response and their muscles are jerking against you, like you're kind of defeating the purpose of the whole massage. Um, but it is about learning to know your touch and then finding your people who do really appreciate your touch. And that can be a very huge learning curve.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I came from the fitness world since 2008, and understand that where so many people come in and they're looking for a specific feeling, like that gas out, like that burn, that sore, and they're like, it's like that chase the soreness. And if you're not hobbling the next day, you feel like it wasn't a good workout. When
Yeah.
it,
Yep.
I mean, I always, you kind of intuitively knew, like, all right, there's a different approach to doing this, like as a coach and like being, being a trainer. But it's a hard thing. Like there is a weird subjectivity that comes with healing and with body work. I assume with massage too. Like I thought that for a while. Like it's weird. I don't do very well personally with deep tissue. And I always thought like being an athlete and I'm a strong guy and stuff, like I need the deep tissue. I never responded very well to that. Mine was more like a Swedish type approach and stuff. But it almost took me a little like kind of headspace shift to not think I needed to go in and have, my massage therapist beat the crap out of me. So it's got to be, not just challenging for the therapist, but also as the client too, to kind of know what works best for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And deep tissue isn't even a modality that we're taught in massage school because it's not really a modality. It's something that was
Oh,
created
really?
out of the spa industry. It's not its own technique. It's not its own modality that has its own certification process or anything like that. So that also causes like a lot of conflict because there are many therapists who consider deep tissue to be the work in accessing deeper tissues, which doesn't necessarily mean heavy pressure. And the general public tends to associate deep tissue with meaning heavy pressure. They can be two
Mm,
different things. Myofascial is a very light work in terms of pressure on the body, but it accesses very deep tissues because all those connective fibers are from surface level all the way down to those deeper muscle tissues. So even though you're affecting the skin on top, if you sit long enough, because the main ingredient to myofascial is time, it is eventually affecting those deeper tissues without the heavy pressure. So that is
that's
deep
fascinating. Yeah,
tissue work.
I'm so happy you clarified that. I mean, this is why we take these things as just like truths of like just what you hear, but then when you actually like explore it a little deeper. I remember this is a weird segue, but when I got a tattoo done by a great artist who was going a little lighter, it didn't feel as deep. It's just like, no, like to really shine the colors bright, you don't want to go so deep. You actually want to go to a specific layer. I'm like, oh, there's different ways of approaching this in a lot of different modalities the more that you learn from
Yeah.
there. So getting into like the gemstone work and the energy work, like I think a lot of people listening would know what massage therapy is. Maybe they've practiced it but when we say the word like energy healing or energy work, it can go into a lot of different spaces in people's heads. I'm sure you've heard this a lot of different times. How do you explain the what like gemstone work is or energy work is, and what are the benefits of incorporating it into your self-care practices?
Well, I think I always start with people like, it's a lot of it is about personal belief. My personal belief, and a lot of people who do energy works personal belief, is that there is this essence that radiates from us, that there is some kind of field, there is a frequency that emanates from our bodies and our physical tissues. And energy work is about being able to work with that is coming off of you and work to shift flows of it and get things flowing and moving to help uplift the energy of the body, the mind, and the spirit.
Okay. So how do you approach that with somebody who's coming in? Maybe they don't know exactly what they need from it, but is there like an assessment process that you work with to figure out like the best practices to incorporate this type of work for somebody?
Yeah, so I mean, one of the things that I've done for myself is that, and this is something that I started in 2019, and that's kind of when I said, like, or when I said, like, this is the work that I'm devoting myself to. And in 2019, I said, like, all my sessions are an integration of energy work, intuitive work, and body work. No longer am I taking clients who are like, can I just get a massage? Like that was it. That was my cutoff point. So I no longer see clients who are looking for just body work. So I started this process of doing phone consultations first. So I always have a conversation with somebody and I find out what their goals are. Because some people just find me on Google and they see the massage thing and they're just give me a call and they're like, yeah, I'm just
I
looking
get
for a
it.
massage. And I'm like, that's fantastic. I'm just not your therapist, you know? Otherwise, I do explain to them what I do and that it's all about being able to support and help the physical body through massage and body work, but also bringing in that energetic perspective where energy might be suppressed or congested or deficient, and to use gemstones as my tool for shifting or transforming energy.
Was that a hard thing to declare for yourself in 2019? Was it something like this just feels like where I need to be? Like, what was that process like leading up to 2019 that you're like, no, this is how I need to approach this. I'm not just going and taking anybody now. Like, I really want to make this my full practice. Because I know shifting anything in a business can be, a challenging thing, and it means you're going to be turning away a lot more people than often bringing people in. What was that process like for you?
I mean, it was a little, it was good for me. Like it felt good to do it, but it also came along with some fear because, like you said, everybody, pretty much everybody knows what a massage is and what a massage entails. And for a long time, I kind of really depended on that massage part of my business name used to be Turn a New Leaf Energy Work and Massage. I really depended on that massage part to get people in the door. And, if they would accept me trying out energy work on them, that would be fantastic. And then that's how I ended up growing a lot of my client base was that they ended up finding how helpful the energy work was and how much the energy work really anchored, reinforced, and supported the body work and held things longer for them. Um, and, I just had to say, like, all right, I think I have to draw the line in the sand, even though that's kind of scary. And I'm now going into something where a lot of people don't know what it is that I do. In fact, still, my clients say today, like, you are so awesome. I have no idea how to tell somebody what it is that you do, but I just tell them to come see
I was gonna say I'm
you.
empathetic to you on that because I know it's these words that we hear all the time, but when you say what does that mean, most people it like goes completely over their head, and the subjectivity I know could definitely seem like it could be a challenge for that. Yeah.
But it was a good thing I did it for myself because I was getting to the point where um, just doing a 90-minute just straight massage for me was like torture. Because I would be getting messages and I could feel where energy was needing some attention, but that's not what they were there for and that's not what they paid me for, and I respect that. So it wasn't fun for me, and I want my work to be fun and I want my work to feel like it's true to what I think is really impactful for people.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of similarities of what I thought about 4 years. It's actually 4 years ago this week that I started my own business. And when I wanted to do a deeper approach of helping people on the physical side of strength, because I realized how much the mental side of strength needed to come into it. And for years before, like I knew there was a psychology to success that I wasn't fully putting my finger on, of why some people succeeded for the long term in their fitness and felt really great and other people just continued to yo-yo up and down. And it was like that tough declaration of like, yeah, no, we're going to talk deeply about your life, about your stresses, about where you've been challenged before, and not just these are the exercises and the protocols that you're going to go into. And but I remember in my own head of that dance back and forth of like it'd be so easy to just run out these programs and just, but the same thing as you said with your 90-minute, session, it was like torture. I'm like, oh my God, just like counting sets and reps for people. Like I feel like I'm going to pull my hair out. There's got to be
Yeah.
something deeper that I want to go into. Were you already kind of integrating this work before like that kind of declaration of it before? And like, was that like something like, oh, I really feel alive doing this big work? Was it like a kind of like a process of building up that mountain?
Yeah, I mean, more and more. my clients were all integrated. So by the time I got to that point, I don't even think I really needed to like cut off anyone and let anyone go or fire any client and say like, hey, I'm not doing this work anymore. I think by that point I'd only dropped off to like one or two clients who were coming to me for just straight massage. And I think I just let that lie. It was like whoever was with me left, that was fine. But it became from that point on, I was no longer going to take on anyone like that. And then the pandemic happened. So, so
How was
yeah.
that for you?
That was rough. Though actually it helped me really hone in my virtual session skills. So I do take my sessions online, not with body work, but with intuitive work and gemstone energy work. It's just all done on that intuitive or psychic plane. And it was a really cool experience. It was a really cool experience because I did have clients who were coming to see me in office prior to the pandemic. And then, we got to the point where our only option was doing this online, and they were surprised how deeply effective and how profound the virtual sessions are. If not maybe more than the in-person sessions, only because, with the in-person sessions, like I'm still dealing with like the body, but in a virtual session, I'm just purely going off of intuitively what I'm getting from their energy field and intuitively what I'm getting from the energy of the gemstones and walking them through this guided meditation throughout the whole session of what I'm feeling and what we're doing and how we're moving and shifting energy, and just a lot more very detailed information comes up that really kind of blows them away,
That's
which is cool.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think do you think there was any correlation with if somebody comes to you and like they're in, person, it's almost like they're giving their autonomy away to you to solve what they need to do versus a virtual session where they need to be a little bit more engaged in the process and kind of do a little bit more yourself? Do you think that has something, to do with that at all?
I think there could be a little bit of that, though I will say in my in-person sessions, I do really try to keep people engaged and not really like falling asleep. So I still do talk a good amount through my in-person sessions, not necessarily in a conversational way, but I do lead it in a guided meditation, just like as I do with my virtual sessions, because um, I'm wanting them to engage in the process. And what I found is that this has been really impactful for people. And this is another part of my work that I really had to get up the courage to do, because as a massage therapist, you're taught to be quiet. Most of the time, people are not there to chit chat with you. Some people do like to chit chat with you, but you're supposed to kind of monitor yourself, and like if they stop talking, you should stop talking. And Reiki, usually they'll, lay hands on your body and they'll kind of like debrief you after. However, when I went through medical intuitive training with Tina Zion, it was like, you need to call it as you see it. And that kind of gave me like the validation to start saying, like, I'm noticing this. This is what I'm noticing. This is what I'm noticing happening. This is what this gemstone seems to be picking up on. And this is the information, this is the memory, this is the word, this is the emotion that's coming through with this, or I see this happening. So I'm always doing that in real time. I know I don't debrief them at the end of the session. And I find it keeps them really engaged. And I feel like it validates my work for a lot of people, because I can't tell you how often I hear like the clients say, I heard that, I felt that 20 seconds before you said it. And like that's the
Wow.
importance of like saying it in the moment. Because I'll
That's
say, I feel this here. And they're like, yeah, I just felt that right before you said it.
Wow. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that is powerful. It can be very easy to think of like a bodywork session as just like a luxury thing. I'm just going to go down. I passed out in many different massage appointments
Yeah.
before in there.
Yep.
And yeah, it's not that there wasn't a benefit to it. I mean, you still
Yeah.
felt good for what it is, but if you are really looking to, create awareness around this and really heal from something, specifically in the work that you do of realigning energy and stuff, yeah, you need to be engaged with it. And, I saw that even on the side of coaching, where as much as a lot of coaches, we try and help people. You can also very easily enable people into telling them exactly what to do every step. And then the client almost turns into a robot in ways of like, they're really good soldiers. They're following orders. But what I learned in the pandemic is when all of a sudden everybody was onto their own accord and the coach wasn't in front of them anymore, telling them exactly what to do, a lot of people felt like they couldn't keep things going. There wasn't actually the skill that was built of going forward. That's why I shifted a lot of the work that I was doing as far as coaching. And it seems like very similar of what you've aimed for with Turn a New Leaf.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have a lot, I mean, you have quite a few different practitioners and people that you're working with. Do you guys work all collectively as a team in there? It's like you seem like you have a pretty good flow of a lot of different people in different modalities that you're working with.
Yeah, I mean, um, I wouldn't say we work as a team in the sense of like we're passing around the same client or anything like that. But we do work in a team in the sense of we get together, regular scheduled meetings. We support each other. We try and share our things that we're celebrating or express what we're challenged with and try and really support each other through that. And it's been a really, really lovely experience. I really love the group that we have together, and they've really embraced that idea of community. And I knew that when I came there that I wanted it to be different because as much as I liked my old office, and even though I outgrew it, there was nothing wrong with it, but it was practitioners all just sharing space in a building and just passing ships, you know what I mean? So I wanted to do something different here. And because I was going in there with the purpose of creating a wellness collective, I wanted there to be that connection and community between us. So we do come together and we do meet so that we are able to connect. I also really try to get us together in opportunities so that when there's events, when there's expos, I put it out to people. When I get invited to a podcast and if they're looking for more people, like I let them know like this person is looking for guests on their show. I try and open up those opportunities and resources to all of us so
Hmm.
that we're all growing together.
Yeah. How is that for you on like you're a leader of your business and the work that you do and also being a practitioner and you have your own practice that you're working with? How has that process evolved for you? Is that a challenge for you to manage everything? You got a lot of shit going on, Aaron, with the business, with your own practice, with a family. Like how has that evolved for you over time?
I'm going to be completely honest. We're a little over a year in on this, and I'm still trying to work it out. I'm still trying to figure it out. Even maybe right now, going through a little bit of an identity crisis. Like, am I a business leader and the head of this, or am I just a practitioner? Um, and well, I know I'm not just a practitioner anymore, but I'm still trying to work it out, and I am still on that. Okay, where are we going with this
Sure.
in the moment? So, but it's not terrible. I'm working it out. I do feel really fulfilled in the role of being the head of this wellness collective. I really love it. Really love taking care of the building and taking care of the practitioners and bringing them opportunities. Like it's been wonderful.
Yeah. Do you have specific practices you do to keep yourself grounded, like with on the entrepreneurial side and stuff? Is it energy work? Is it like journaling work? How do you keep yourself kind of organized with all the things that you do?
Yeah, monthly. Actually, this morning I went and had acupuncture, so that's something I do monthly. I also trade with one of my practitioners, Allison Carolee. Her and I have gone way back even before the collective, and she does somatic experiencing, emotion code, and Reiki. And I love those sessions with her. I find those extremely helpful for myself. And then I've really like bumped up like my own like exercise. Really gotten into walking and lifting weights, and I feel like that's really taken down my anxiety incredibly. That's probably given me a good dopamine
I
boost
love it.
daily. And I take dance classes once a month. I've danced my entire life, and I continue to love dancing, and so that's another thing I bring in. So I
So
got my things.
So working it
Yep,
through the body. So
yep,
focusing on the mind through the body. I love it.
yep.
Yeah. So, well, one thing is a couple weeks ago when I got a chance to come to your open houses, you just opened up this sound lounge. Okay. And I want to ask you about sound therapy because it's something I've dabbled in and I've seen benefits of. I still don't fully understand the details of it. How did like sound and vibration therapy work your way into Turning New Leaf? And now you have this whole room that is specifically designed for like healing the body and helping the body through sound.
Yeah. Well, one, I think it kind of goes back to, again, like I've danced my whole life. So I've always had this deep appreciation for music and how music can really bring so much out of us. It can really affect us. It can really, have an impact on our mind. But further than that, I have also gone to gong baths. I took a continuing ed course for massage therapists in sound therapy back in 2023. And that was learning gongs and bowls. And it was amazing the impact. I remember because we were in this room, right, and everybody's banging a gong. It got a little overwhelming at some points because everybody's practicing. But I remember because that was like a 3 day training. But I remember the nights that I went home, I felt vastly different. And I could really tell that within myself. And I was like, wow, that is really, really interesting. So that was the first time that I kind of said to myself, like, wow, there is something to this. This is definitely shifting something. And then I've also worked, one of my partners, Ben Brown, he's also a massage therapist and um, sound healer. And we've gotten together and done a couple gemstone and sound events. And I've noticed how impactful his sounds are. So when he brings in all these different instruments or different tools that make sound, they're not even necessarily traditional instruments. I think even one time he came around, he brought in a branch that still had leaves on it, and he was shaking it, and it was making that rustling
That's
sound.
fantastic. Yeah.
And that was like part of our, I think we were doing an agate meditation, and agate has an affinity for like earth energy. So he was bringing that in, and it was a really cool, impactful experience for everyone there. And, as an energy worker, energy is both light and sound. And I've always had a tendency to go towards perceiving the light, like as an intuitive. But over time, I've become more and more picking up on sound vibration in people's energy fields. And so that's also made me really interested in how sound can be used to shift energy of the body and shift the brain and the nervous system. For example, when I'm intuitively checking in with someone's energy, I've heard in my ear like a high pitched whistling sound or radio static and things like that. So I've picked up that like mechanical sounds in the energy field tend to indicate imbalance, whereas more melodic sounds or hums tend to be more imbalanced. And these are the same type of sounds that you'd hear if you pick up like a sound healing audio or binaural beats or music that is tuned into certain frequencies. So that all started to really pick up my interest, just being a frequency nerd for both light frequency and sound frequency.
Yeah.
And I decided that the Sound Lounge would be a really cool tool to start seeing the impact of that sound vibration. So it's low frequency sound vibration. I think this is something we talked about when you came to try it out. So low frequency sound vibration from 20 hertz to 200 hertz is where our body is able to perceive sound by feeling it. Over 200 hertz, we're only perceiving sound through our ears. So the Sound Lounge is an opportunity to both feel sound vibration as you're laying on it because the transducers in the table are producing a vibration and therefore stimulating the mechanical receptors in your skin. And you're able to feel that. It has uh, a tactile change to your system, and your brain and your nervous system start to respond to that. And it's meant to induce those more relaxed states. It's meant to kind of help your brain and nervous system get into that parasympathetic state of rest and restoration quicker and maybe easier and even more deeply than if you were to try and meditate for yourself for some people, because for some people it is difficult to get into that state. So what we've found and the feedback that I've gotten is that after about minute 7 on the sound lounge is where all of a sudden you really start to feel your mind and your brain and your body kind of go out there, which is great. It kind of means you're dropping into those different states, maybe changing some of that brain wave activity and able to produce a state of true rest. And I think that's a lot of what it's about for me is helping people get into a state of true rest because that's where restoration and rejuvenation happens. And I think that if we create instances, if we do activities where we are accessing that state over and over again, it's like training a muscle, right? We roll our shoulders back to like train our muscles, like, okay, like we're supposed to be over here, not here. And the more we do that, the more the body just starts to listen and go like, oh, okay, we can achieve this, we can hold this. And I think, not that I'm any kind of scientist or doctor, but just my feeling is that the more we can show the nervous system that we can do that, then we can start achieving it by ourselves and getting there and really help us in that cycle of day to day where, we have to be up and alert and on at times. But we got to come off of that too.
I no, that's interesting. I'm fascinated by like what rest and recovery really means. It's a
Mm.
big conversation in all like health and wellness now of like, oh, you need your rest days and stuff. But what I found is oftentimes like people like in their rest days, yeah, they're not working out, but they're stressed out of their minds or they have all this stimulus that is going on. It's not actually intentional rest versus actually sitting and going into something like the frequencies is fascinating to me because I see these things all the time. There's a really good YouTube page. I think it's called like neural frequency sounds, and they just have all the different hertz that you can put on, and it tells you I have no idea why 528 and 174 is the difference. You explained it really well there. So you said like the under 200, that is where we can actually not just hear it with our ears, but now it's going into like there's a physiological change that we can get from that. Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah, we can palpate it, we can feel it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So is it beneficial at all to go above that like with the sound lounge like over 200? Is this really meant to like get more into really that like deep that parasympathetic, type state in that deep rest?
I know the lounge itself is meant to stay at that under 200 hertz range so that you're feeling it. But remember, you're also experiencing the sound through your ears with the headphones. So that's how you might be experiencing those higher frequencies at the same time. Which I'm not sure of all the science yet of how that's affecting the body. I'm still learning and delving into all this myself. And this is still very much like being a studied thing. There is um, the reason why I bought, so the system that I bought is from In Harmony is what the company is called. And I bought from them because I really like that they're working very closely with a third party group to do studies and science around vibroacoustic therapy. So that's what this whole, practice is called. It's called vibroacoustic therapy, and it's still an emerging therapy and it's still being studied. So I look forward to what will come out in the future as more energy, more funding, more attention is put towards this practice and see what comes of it. So far, out of the research that they've done, they've seen positive things, positive effects for insomnia, chronic pain, stress, and anxiety. And they're just starting to do some research on how sound frequency is affecting people with PTSD and also children with autism. So those are some things that they're looking into. But I look forward to seeing what they do more with it and starting to learn more of those specifics, like what this frequency does versus that frequency.
Right. That's fascinating. Have you seen at all in your personal study or experience of using different frequencies in motion, like in exercise, whether it's walking or weight training? Have you explored any of that at all?
I haven't yet, no, but
Yeah.
I think it's a fascinating topic.
I probably like 3, 4 years ago is often in my training that I do, I'll I'll put on like old Viking chant music or like instrumental
Mm,
music that has like a different, rather than just blaring AC/DC or like, fun classic rock, which is always a good time. And I'll do that once in a while too. But
yeah.
I actually like in long bouts of like kettlebell snatching or swing work and stuff, I would put on something that is you wouldn't hear in a gym. It'd be more of like an
Yeah.
instrumental or like a lower frequency. And it's it's an interesting thing because you don't get that same like ramp up dopamine that you would do from
Mm,
like a hit class or like if you go to Orange Theory, but you almost kind of keep in a calm meditative state. Like I know there's some trainers who have trained with fighters who have put on like soft music while they're, doing their work
oh.
with jujitsu and stuff to kind of keep that calm state when you're in like a fight or flight type spot. So I'd be curious about like what the research is behind that when you're in like those types of state, if that has some sort of impact.
Oh, that's so interesting. I
Yeah,
love that.
that's cool. Yeah. So, um, what's next for you? I mean, a year in here, I mean, this is still the ground roots of that. Is there anything that you're like looking to aim to get going next? Is it kind of just continuing on the building process right now? Like, what's the future of Turn New Leaf looking like for you?
I do have some things in the works, so hopefully we'll continue to grow. I think now it's like, I've set my business up in a way that I love all the facets of it. I love the building. I love that we're holding events. I love my practice. I love my digital subscription. I have a design line and collection. And, I have all these pieces there. It's now just a matter of moving the pieces all more forward.
You're a true entrepreneur. Yeah, a million projects all at once. I love it. Erin, this has been great. I have some rapid fire questions just to close this out for you. It's been awesome connecting with you and hearing all about the work that you're doing here.
Thank you.
All right, sweet or savory?
Sweet.
Okay. Beach or mountains?
Mountains.
Do you have a favorite mountain? Is it Catskills or is it something else?
I always think of the Catskills. I mean, honestly, if I was to have it both ways, like a creek in the mountains would be my favorite just because I don't like sand. Sand is not my thing.
Okay. All right. Window or aisle seat?
Window.
Window. What was the last thing you recommended to a friend? A book, TV show, a movie, coffee shop?
Ooh, probably. We've been talking about Gilded Age a lot, but we really love the Gilded Age.
Phenomenal, right?
I
Great show. Okay. What's the best advice you've ever received?
don't know if I can say like exact advice, but I always think of my mom. And I feel like I'm here today and I'm where I'm at because she's a very creative, expansive thinker. And I think she kind of instilled in me, like, if you want it, you can make it happen. Like, no dream is too big. And I'm incredibly grateful for that because I think that mentality, sticking that mentality in me, is what has gotten me to where I am today.
Beautiful. What's the worst advice you ever received?
Again, I don't know if I have specific, but I hate that term, fake it till you make it. That one really bothers me.
I hate that too. Yeah. Oh, that's a whole nother podcast that we can dive into.
I feel like people take advantage of that one to an unethical place sometimes.
Well, it's because even if you succeed, you feel like you did it through a persona, not your actual person.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll dive into that on the next time you come on. All right.
Yeah.
Last thing, I always like to close out with this. Who inspires you the most in your life to be the best that you can be?
I think my husband. My husband has been there 100% since day one when he said, "Sure, let's totally quit our jobs in New York City and move upstate for this totally new career you want to take on." So he's always been behind me. He's always been pushing me. Um, Even in my hardest of moments when I was trying to make this move happen from my private office into this building, and this was a 2-year process, and there was a lot of tears and a lot of things that fell through last minute, deals that didn't go through, and I would be so upset and I would be crying. And one night he said to me, "I know this is really tough, but if there's one person I know that can do it, it's you." And I was, so thank God for him.
Oh, that gives me chills. It's just
Yeah.
amazing how little encouragement we need just to move us in the right direction and get it right there. Beautiful. Erin Sikopoulos. Erin, this has been a blast. Thank you so much for coming on, telling me all about
Thank you.
Turn a New Leaf. I really love the work that you're doing. I think it's important. I think, this is something that more people need to dive into and really look at for themselves in care. So I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on. This was so much fun.
Absolutely. If people want to check out what you got going on, see what's the best place that they can go.
Yeah, turnanewleafllc.com is my website, or you can catch me on Instagram, Turn a New Leaf Intuitive.
Perfect. Awesome. So check the show notes, guys, for those. Erin, you're awesome. Thank you. Listeners, thank you so much. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.